Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fearlessly Authentic. I am Jody Harrison Bauer, your host for the today's show, and I am so excited to share my guest today. As you know, I named the show Fearlessly Authentic because I was always afraid to take risks until I decided to take the biggest risk of my life and change my life 21 years ago. And we're not always fearless and we're not always authentic, but it's a goal of mine to live the most fearlessly authentic life. And with my guests, and wait till you hear her, with my guests and myself, we really try very hard to educate, empower, entertain you, right? We're going to be doing some entertaining today and inspiring you to live that fearlessly authentic life. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. We have a 5-star rating. I love to hear from you. So please send your messages to me. You can find me on all social platforms at Jody Harrison Bauer and on YouTube. You can check out my guests and myself. Just don't do it while you're driving. And I think that is about it. So I'm going to introduce my guest, but I want to say hello to her first. Caroline, thank you for coming to the
Hi.
show. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi,
And
my love. I'm so happy to be here. I want to say thank you, first of all, for having me on. It's an honor, flattered. So excited.
I'm just so happy we connected. We connected really, really fast. And I love that. So thank you so much. A little bit about my guest today, Caroline Baudino. You know what? I didn't even ask you if I'm saying your last name right.
You are
Oh,
perfect. You
amazing.
got it.
Okay. Caroline Baudino is a mom of 2 boys, a wife, and a lifestyle influencer with impeccable and edgy clothing, makeup, and jewelry, and a can-do attitude of choosing happy. She is known for her real talks on her social media platforms, where she shows us glimpses of her life, sharing an unfiltered view of being a mom, wife, and just being Caroline, as well as motivating others to be the best versions of themselves. This is where Caroline tells us that we need to get up, get dressed. Let's do this. After having kids, Caroline felt lost, lonely, and overwhelmed. She realized feeling and looking like a mess made her act like a mess. That's when she started her Instagram shop with Caroline. She posted her fashion forward outfits and how she styles everything from a soccer mom look to formal wear. But it was her message of looking and feeling good that resonated most with women. She is brutally honest when she shares her experiences, showing that everything isn't perfect, and provides tips and inspiration on how she overcame life's challenges, including motherhood, relationships, aging parents, and menopause. Caroline's message will tug at your heartstrings as well as light a fire in your soul. Now get up, get dressed. Let's do this. I love it, Caroline. Welcome
Thank you
again to
so
the
much.
show.
Thank you.
It's one of the reasons that I found you was because one of my clients said, you need to check out this woman. She is you.
Oh my
And
God. What a compliment. Thank you.
I felt it was a compliment also. So thank you. And she's in her late 30s, a mother of two, had 2 miscarriages like I did, and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But I was so happy. And that night that I found you, I just kept scrolling through your stuff to make sure that like your message was legit, that you were consistent, that like what you talked about wasn't bullshit, because there's so much crap out there of
So
women
much.
pretending to have these stories, because now it's all about, being fearlessly authentic, more so
Yep.
now than ever. But you know what? Even the authentic people aren't authentic. So,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. I think, what's interesting is you are seeing this, I think this uptick in the midlife. I think, our message is resonating now where maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't 5 or 10 years ago. And I think it is a huge message right now. Menopause, aging gracefully, how we can stop using this anti-aging term. This young girl who wrote this song that I posted the other day was just all about watching her mom always never being good enough, looking in the
I
mirror and
saw
never
that.
feeling good enough. And honestly, it really hit home because I think, we've created a society where we've normalized unhappiness, we've normalized competition, we've normalized looking like shit, feeling like shit, and not doing shit. And I'm over it. I'm kind of like, you know what? It doesn't have to look like everybody else, but there is a way for you to be happy and to feel good in your own skin and stop putting all this pressure on ourselves to be everything to everyone. And then you see all of these incredible women that are so smart, so capable, so strong, feeling like they have nothing left, feeling like life is over, feeling like they're not good enough. And I'm like, you just raised families, you've helped your husband be successful, you've taken care of your family and your kids and your parents, and you don't feel good enough. So I think it's changing that conversation. And that's why I love what your message, because again, it's about the second half is the greatest half because you are starting from experience. You're not starting from scratch. So it is so empowering. And I think we have forgotten what aging really looks like. And I think right. And I think it's just bringing back normalizing looking and feeling great at any age, I think is so important.
Right. And I love that point of you talking about that we've normalized feeling like hell,
Yes.
normalized feeling like a mess. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. No, it's not
Not
okay
okay.
because people don't feel good. It's not okay. So, as that's
Like
why,
we made it okay to like not take care of yourself. And it's like people are
right.
right, or to, not have time to put on a cute outfit or to take a shower or to, hang out with your girlfriends for lunch. Like we've normalized, doing everything for everyone else. And
Yes.
we've completely forgotten about ourselves. And then you wonder why women are feeling so lost or feeling so depressed or so down or so anxious, because again, they're not recognizing themselves in the mirror because, we've given up
They're
everything for
right.
everyone else.
They You're speaking to the choir here, girlfriend. I
Yeah.
totally get it. Everything that was written in your bio, I totally understand that. And I want you to share your story about what made you get onto Instagram. But I want to start from the beginning and what you mentioned in your bio about that you went through some tough times. So give us some background so our listeners could understand where Caroline came from.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's what's interesting is that I think my story is not so different from everybody else. And I think that's why it resonates, is that I think there's a lot of us that are, hitting midlife, hitting menopause. A lot of us, had kids maybe a bit later, maybe got married a bit later. And, it's all kind of happening all at once. Your parents are aging, having to take on that responsibility, going through menopause and midlife, and then also having young children, a husband. And I think no one ever talks about it. No one ever talks about how hard it is. No one ever talks about the reality of it. Everyone's always like, oh, get married. You're going to be taken care of for the rest of your life. And you're like, wait, what? When's someone coming to take care of me? You're like, I'm
Right.
still waiting. So I think when, that realization and that wake up call that for me happened, I was kind of walking through life like a zombie. I had kids at 38 and 40. I had met my husband at 32. We waited to get married. We wanted to buy a house. We wanted to live life. I watched my mom, sacrifice it all. That's the truth. My mom wasn't happily married. They're still married. I love them. I respect them, but it wasn't a happy home. It wasn't a happy marriage. My dad was a cheater. It was something that my mom would blow up and then somehow everything would be okay. And we would just keep going. So unhappiness was very normalized in my home, and being very dependent on that man, the machismo, I'm Latin American, the husband takes care of you.
Yeah, I saw
But
that you're Cuban and Venezuelan, right?
yes,
So, okay.
yes. So
Yes.
fully Latino. So that background and that, heritage and that kind of normal of the woman takes care of the home and the man. So we very much grew up like that. And it was fascinating. A couple of years ago, I found myself literally, this was 5 years ago now. The phone rings, I'm kind of going through life. I had kids a bit later, 38 and 40. I was exhausted. I had no idea the sacrifice, no idea how hard it was to have kids. Like no one ever really told me. Everyone's just talks about having kids, but no
They
one
don't,
tells.
they don't tell
No one
us.
wants to.
No,
And it's like
no.
if you don't have a live-in nurse, night nanny, and have enough money to have full-time care, it is really hard. And we didn't have that. So I was so overwhelmed and exhausted. Then comes, and I'm just kind of volunteering at school. I'm just driving to school for pickup, drop off, just like a zombie, just kind of literally just going in circles, like for real, not really living, not doing anything I really wanted to do. I was very much doing what was expected of me.
Right. Like stereotypical Groundhog
Stereotypical
Day,
mom.
like get
Yeah.
out, maybe schlepping to school in your sweatpants, maybe
Wake
in
up
your
a mess.
dirty underwear, no brushing
Yes.
your teeth. Yeah, I did that too. Yeah.
Girl, like you haven't had your coffee, you're a
Right.
mess, like you work, maybe you work out or go for a walk, then you've got to pick up again, then you
Right.
haven't, you look like shit. I mean,
Yeah,
we
you
all
always
get
it's a constant stage of looking like hell and going to the
exactly,
grocery store. Right. Yeah.
exactly like a robot. And I was like, okay, so then all of a sudden the phone rings. And I remember I was always volunteering because I felt it made me busy. It kind of gave me something to say I was doing. Like it made me feel like important. Like I'd come home and be like, oh, I volunteered. And it was, I did the whole gala for school. Meanwhile, I hated it. Hated all the parents, hated all the hated all the bullshit, hated all the moms.
Wait, are you my sister? I think you might be my
Literally.
sister
I'm not kidding.
because
Are we the same human?
I swear we are. Yes.
So this is, so I was like doing what you're supposed to do. Meanwhile, not happy, not fulfilled, not feeling like my best self. Like I can honestly tell you, I wasn't walking around smiling. I wasn't in my best mood. I definitely was like, my oxygen mask was not on first. I was definitely last on the list and I did not feel good. And so phone call comes in, my mom calls screaming, hysterical. I honestly had a nervous breakdown. My heart was pounding. She's like, my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She didn't know what to do. There's money missing. She doesn't know where anything is. She doesn't know who's going to take care of him. I mean, I literally was like, what? So the two most powerful people all of a sudden now have no power, no control, have no idea what to do. And they're staring at you being like, okay, now you need to take care of us.
Are you the oldest?
I'm the youngest. And of course, but the more responsible.
Okay. Okay.
So the oldest, nobody speaks to. She wrote us all off because she's dealing with her own issues that we wish her well, but she's not involved.
Okay.
So basically it's on me. And I have two small kids full time. My husband's traveling Sunday through Thursday. And now my parents from across the country need me to take care of everything. I was like, wait, what? So I literally walked past the mirror, Jody, and I did not recognize myself. I literally was the first time I think I had looked in the mirror, had looked at myself, had taken an actual look, because usually, I think we like to avoid the mirror because we don't want to actually see what's going on.
You're like, yeah, I know who that is.
Like I'll deal with that later. Like I don't want to see it. I don't want to deal with it. And truthfully, it was the first time I really looked in such a long time and I didn't recognize myself. I was like, who the hell is that? I was like, that's not Caroline. I'm like, Caroline is usually smiling, in a good mood, super upbeat, always ready for anything. I love getting dressed. I love wearing my jewels. I love looking fabulous. And it was like, I was a shell of myself. I really was like, what happened to you? And I was like, that's it. I'm like watching my mom living with every regret, screaming she doesn't know how to do anything. I'm looking in the mirror like, wait a second, I'm falling down the same rabbit hole. Like, what am I doing? I'm not working. I'm not making money. Do I know where the money is? Like, it was one of those things where everything smacks you in the face. And I was like, that's it. And it literally began for me looking in the mirror and being like, I'm bringing her back. I'm going to bring back the best version of you. I'm bringing Caroline back, the looking fabulous, feeling fabulous, doing fabulous. I was like, that's it. I'm done. So that's really where this began.
And you chose yourself first. It wasn't that you loved anybody less, but you chose to take care of yourself first, because as you said, you weren't putting the oxygen mask on you first. You were making sure everybody else was okay. And we all know by now that if we do take care of ourselves, then we take better care of the people around us because we feel better about ourselves. It is very hard to be in that situation, to be super mom, super wife, super daughter, super friend when we feel like hell. And it's impossible. And, in what I've been doing my whole life is helping women get fitter and healthier in their bodies so they can take care of their families, so they can be there just like you're talking about, and putting on beautiful clothes.
It's a mental and physical combination. It is. And I think women forget that there is something to you, again, I think we've normalized putting the oxygen mask on last. And yet every single airline, every single flight you go on, they tell you to put it on first because you cannot possibly save everyone else. And I think we forget that fire that lights inside of you, we all have it. We're all born with it. And I think little by little, people just keep sucking the life out of you and keep sucking the oxygen out. And then that light keeps starting to burn out. And people wonder why you look dead inside. It's because your fire has been put out. You feel it. And so it's about, how do we light you back up? How do we bring that flame back? And how do you do that? Putting oxygen back in. We got to flame that fire, right? So you put oxygen. So it's you taking care of yourself that actually makes that light burn bright. And that gives you the strength, the courage, the power to then take care of everybody else. And I think, again, we need to normalize women taking care of themselves.
Yes.
And they say happy wife, happy life. And yet wife's always the last one. I'm like, what?
It's right. That's a man thing. That's just that's just for the men to say so they can brag about that on the golf course. My ex-husband did that too. It's
Yep.
like, oh no, I'm not happy, and you're going to find out how unhappy I am in just a few days when you get served. No, I'm kidding. But that was a
Totally.
long time ago. But it's true that like when you do find that all the life is being sucked out of you, and from people that don't want it, they're not intentionally trying to, draw all of your light out of you, but it just happens. And I think it happens to people like us who want to give so much also. I
Yes.
think that if you also don't have up the right boundaries,
Yep.
if you are that person who wants to give, people know that, and they're like, okay, I'm going to take until you
Absolutely.
finally do see yourself in the mirror, Caroline, and you go, no, it's not
Absolutely.
happening anymore. And I remember that, I got divorced 21 years ago. My kids were 8 and 12. And then about in 2016, my dad died in 2010. My mom died, had a stroke in 2016. She
Oh my
passed
God,
away in
I'm so sorry.
2021. My two sisters live out of state. It was me. And I didn't have the best relationship with my mom. We were like this. I'm a firstborn of 3 girls. And, I'm like, great. I'm had just met my husband that I'm now married to. And I'm like, great. I'm in a brand new studio. I'm this, my kids are grown. And now this is happening. Like,
Yep.
when am I ever, and selfishly, I did think about myself, when am I ever going to get a break? But I
Yep.
had to create those boundaries because my mom, when she came back to being like normal, she was looking for me all the time.
100%. And I agree with you. I think there's a lot of women our age, again, that we do. It's like that martyr mentality that we're supposed to be doing everything for everyone. And it's like, you're not a good daughter, or you're not a good wife, or you're not a good mom if you're not like sacrificing it all. And it is so selfish of people to assume that. And I think, again, you forget that you get married to share in the responsibilities. It is
Right.
about both of you helping so that you both get to live out your best lives and be happy. And I think we've, again, like you said, it's like we've just normalized this theory that you are supposed to take care of everyone else, and that you're supposed to be completely depleted, and you're not supposed to say anything. You're not supposed to feel anything. Again, even when you say you're anxious or you're not feeling like your best self, everyone's like, well, you're not clinically depressed. Like all of a sudden now you have to be clinically rock bottom, or you have to be Beyonce. You know what I mean? Like that's the only way to be happy or miserable. And I'm like, there's a real gray area for middle-aged women. I think the rate of suicide and depression and loneliness in middle-aged women is at the highest it has ever been. And I think it's because we've done a real disservice to women, thinking that the only way to be a good mom or a good wife or a good anything is, number one, is who you're married to and how much you sacrifice of yourself. And then, as you age and you become our age and you realize none of that really actually matters. It really just matters that you wake up with a smile, content is your greatest flex. But I think we have forgotten, all of us, just wanting to feel good. We have to stop trying to prove something to everybody or trying to be the best of everything, and actually be honest with yourself about what works for you, what actually feels good to you, those boundaries that you can set up. Because of course, as soon as you set a boundary, everyone who's taking advantage of you is going to be pissed. And they don't like it. And they make you feel bad. No, they make you feel so guilty. They make you feel so bad. And I did it. My mom did it to me too. We didn't speak for 3 months. And you know what? She came around, and at this, you have to establish those boundaries so that you can take care of yourself.
You do. Those are great words of wisdom, and focusing on the middle-aged women. So I think we're specifically talking about women 50 and over here, women who are perimenopausal, women who are going through menopause. And then Caroline is 51. I'm 62. We've lived full lives. It sounds
You
like
look amazing.
you look amazing. You're gorgeous. Like,
I just love that it's just like not at all what you would honestly picture 62 to look at. Like if someone said, what is 62? They probably put a picture of a grandma up, honestly.
yes,
because Golden Girls was our age. I mean, literally. So it really is mind blowing that when you see this, I'm like, I hope we can keep showing women, honestly, what 62 looks like, what 51 looks like. Honestly, it's incredible.
Because we are we are vibrant, we are alive, we have something to say. We are not to be dismissed. And I think that having the focus, just like in the past, I don't know, a year or so, been focused on the middle-aged women and seeing the women coming and feeling alive, that this is not the end of our story. We are not done
Oh,
yet. We
no,
are
no.
just at the beginning. And part of being middle-aged is, and I didn't know the things that you're talking about at 51. I was, you know, I had opened a business. I had become a two-time world bikini champion. That was something I always wanted to do.
Amazing.
That's what had empowered me. That's what gave me my strength and helped build up my self-esteem, because in my marriage, I had lost my confidence. I had no say in anything. I was sort of like how you describe your mom. I didn't know where the money was. I didn't know anything. I allowed myself to fall into that stereotypical
We all do.
suburban
Yes.
mom,
Yes.
stopped working, raised the kids, and then suffocating. And why I love you so much is that you are speaking so boldly and positively to women in their early 50s who need to hear this, because when they get to be my age, they've given up.
Yes.
They've given up. And I'm trying to say to them, listen, I'm 62. I'm going to be 63 in December. Like, don't give up. And
Yes.
it's not look at me. It's hear what the other ladies are talking about and hearing what I'm saying to get you to this place eventually. Listen to people like Caroline, see what she's doing, listen to her story, because it's not all rainbows and puppy dogs and kitties. It's
like, it's so what you're saying, it's like, it really is about, it's finding our happy in the hard, because I think women forget, life is hard, and we're not here to say life is easy. It's not, life is hard work. I think we've forgotten what hard work is. I think we've forgotten what dedication and consistency and routine and persistence is. Again, everybody wants it handed to them. Everybody thinks the doorbell's going to ring, like what our mothers told us, that some knight in shining armor was coming to save us. And I'm the first person to tell you, no one's coming. No one's coming. Like, guys, just stop waiting. No one's coming to save you. And that's why I always say how important that reflection in the mirror is, because that reflection is your superhero. That reflection is your knight in shining armor. That reflection is the captain of your team. Like, at the end of the day, like, that's who's coming to save you. It's you. So how do you want her to look? How do you want her to feel? What do you want her to do with it? And to me, it's like, if you can keep that perspective as that reflection is supposed to be that best version of you, what does that look like? And if you can keep working towards that every day, even just a little bit, those small steps lead to the big ones. And those small steps do lead to that same ending that we all want, which is just waking up, feeling good in our own skin. At the end of the day, what is the greatest success story? It's not what anybody else is doing. It's you just waking up happy. And I do think it's possible. And I think women have forgotten what feeling happy is.
That's a great
crazy.
point.
Crazy.
I do. When I think about the people that I see on social media, and I think that's what we're both referring to, is you do see a lot of sad stories. And it is good that they're sharing their story, but let's work on getting to the other end of that. That's okay. Sit with your feelings, but let's move on from it. Don't sit with your feelings so you lose out on what life has to offer to you. And life only has to offer you what you want to, how far you want to jump into it.
Right.
You can't wait for the doorbell to ring. You can't wait for an opportunity to come to you. So for you were low. You looked at yourself in the mirror. You said, I got to get back to the Caroline that is vibrant and alive. What was the first step you took in doing that?
For me, it really was, I was like, when I started to just think to myself, like, when I just didn't recognize, my first thought was, when did I stop getting dressed? Like, I remember that first. So I really started focusing on what I call happy tools. It's just my happy toolkit. It's what I tap into every day to kind of push those negative feelings, energy, thoughts into positive. And for me, I'm like, what are those tools that I can use daily that are free or that I know just put me in a good mood? And I was like, okay, so I've always loved getting dressed. I always loved looking good. Like, for me, when I look in the mirror and I don't look cute, it's like funny, as simple as that. It just puts negative. I'm like, oh, why did I eat that? Or, hey, oh God, I got to lose weight. Or like, oh my God, look at my skin. Or, oh God, I need Botox. It's amazing what you start to say to yourself. And then that's what you're walking out the door with, right? That's what you're bringing. That energy is what you're bringing downstairs to your kids, to your friends, to your family. So I really was like, I'm going to start. I was like, whenever I look good, I never regret it. I always feel fabulous. It puts a pep in my step. I always feel ready. I kind of started thinking like, I have two boys. I was like, nobody on a professional team shows up to the field in their pajamas without any training, without any warm-ups, without any work done, or without their uniform on. So I was kind of like, this is going to be my uniform. This is going to be my mantra. Like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to get dressed. Like, that's going to be my signal to my brain every day that I matter, that I give a crap, that like, I'm going to do something for me. And it really started with me taking that time, talking to my husband, being like, okay, working out always makes me feel good. Even if it's just one lap around the block, movement always puts me in a good mood. And I was like, gratitude, face in the sun. During COVID, when I would feel a lot of anxiety and stress, I would literally just put my face in the sun. And there is something about sun therapy. It is a real thing. And I just started being grateful for like the cup of coffee, the roof over my, stop thinking about all the things I don't have.
Right.
Really started focusing on what I do have. And then I started doing that positive self-talk. I was like, I'm going to stop telling myself what I can't do, or, oh, I have to, or that's annoying, or I'm exhausted. I was like, I'm going to start saying, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Why, if it's, why not you? Like, you get to do this. This is a great opportunity, or let's go. And just looking in that mirror and just reminding myself the positive outlook. And then I started doing little things that I've loved to do, whether it was, playing tennis again, something as ridiculous as that, spending more time with girlfriends again, or doing a hike, or doing work. I started doing Instagram, started focusing on, okay, how can I make money? What can I use? What can I do that I already love that could actually bring in some cash, or bring in something so that I can now know where my money is. I can start asking questions. I can start having different conversation. And all of a sudden I started getting my power back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. And I want to talk about money and power, but
Yeah.
not too much. But I want it does
huge.
have an effect on our confidence and self-esteem, what we're
Yes.
bringing to the table. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back in a few minutes with Caroline. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fearlessly Authentic. I am here with my guest, Caroline Baudino, and we are talking about feeling our best, getting dressed, getting up, getting moving. Go for it. And it's not always easy. It takes work. It takes consistency, but it's well worth it. Welcome back, Caroline.
Hello.
Hello.
I love this topic because honestly, I think people forget how it is some of the smallest steps, and all it really is that makes the change is the consistency. Right. And that persistence. And I know we were talking, Jody, about like just that importance of what those happy tools are.
Right.
And what we can tap into every day that works for you. And I think that's why the happy tools are just so important, because it is just those simple actions, or those simple activities, or the people. It can be people, it can be action, it could be, just doing something like getting up and getting dressed. What works for you that actually puts you back in that headspace of positive, or in a good mood, or who is that person that makes you laugh? Who is that? We all have that friend that you just know it's just going to put you in a good mood. So I know for me, the happy tools really started from figuring out, start small and simple. I always say, if you're trying to do Mario makeup for like Kim Kardashian makeup, you're going to fail. You're going to say you can't do it, and you're going to give up. We love excuses to give up.
Yes.
So I wanted to make it as simple as possible, because those tiny littlest steps will add on. Because again, like everything, like losing weight, which the second you start seeing some results, that's when you get addicted, right? That's when you're
right. It builds confidence, right? So you want to be realistic, right? You're not going to try using makeup to look, what Kim Kardashian type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lose 20 pounds in a day. Right?
Yeah. Right. It's the little steps, and they're easy steps, but they're hard to be consistent with.
Exactly. And I think that's what it is. It's the consistency where, for me, I said to myself, I'm not going to beat myself up. For me, I know movement. I said, just one lap around the block. If you can just get one lap around the block 3 or 4 times a week, you know what I mean? And then the next week or the next 2 weeks, add 2 laps, make it 5 minutes. Like for gratefulness, I take 10 minutes. I started with 1. Start with 1 minute of face in the sun and gratefulness. Start small. Start with a pair of jeans and a tank top from Target. I'm not telling you to go buy Valentino. I'm not telling you to go try to look like Sex in the City. I'm talking about getting out of your pajamas, getting out of bed, the same way we say, make your bed in the morning. It's that first step, getting dressed is also that first step that signals your brain, you're getting ready for the day. You're getting ready for the game of life. That's why I like looking at it as, you're a professional athlete, and this is your, walking out that door, you're going to play the game of life. How do you want to be prepared for that? And it takes that consistent training. So for me, my happy tools are my warm-ups. It's my training session in the morning, that gratitude, that movement. Again, 1 lap around the block, 1 minute of gratefulness, take a shower, throw on a tank top and jeans and some cute gold hoops, remind yourself you got this and just start seeing how you feel. Do that every single day. Then maybe in a month, add a little makeup, maybe some mascara, maybe the blow dry the hair. I don't know. Just little things that for you make you feel good and add them on. And I'm telling you, next thing you know, you're starting to look different, right? Because you've committed to this walk every day. Now you've been walking and moving every day. That little bit adds up. That little bit of gratitude, you're starting to be like a little bit more grateful. You start putting on an outfit, it kind of encourages you like, oh, I do kind of look cute. Okay, maybe I'm going to try that other shirt tomorrow. You start thinking like, oh, I kind of look good. And it's funny, that little bit of looking good in the mirror puts a pep in your step. It does motivate you. It does inspire you, and it does put you in a better mood. As simple as that. So imagine doing that every day, what that could do.
Right. And it's life. What you're talking about, it's basically a metaphor for life. Like, be ready for life every day. You may not, even if you don't, of course, I'm a proponent for taking the lap around the neighborhood and exercising and moving and eating healthy. But the getting dressed, for those of you who, so many people suffered and struggled with getting dressed during the pandemic. And I think that was something where you really started speaking out more boldly about getting dressed, getting up, getting going, because so many people just stayed in their pajamas, got really depressed. And it is amazing how such a little thing, as Caroline said, just a little thing, and doing it every day can grow into a habit and could grow into a confidence builder. And
Jody, can I say, even with COVID, which I thought was so important with, of course, I got some blowback with people being like, what are you doing in sequence pants in a pandemic?
Stop following me.
Right. And I was like, guys, listen, I go, at the end of the day, this is what I found interesting. And I understand COVID was very serious and I wasn't trying to take anything away from it. But what I did want to say was, yes, it is a very incredibly hard time. This is scary. This is overwhelming, and we don't know what's going to happen. But is that really the moment you want to give up? Is that really the moment that you want to just let go? Is that really the moment that you want to just be like, you know what? I'm going to just look like crap and I'm going to just feel like crap because we're in a pandemic. You know what I mean? For me, I'm like, I actually want to be my best self. I actually want to walk out of here looking and feeling amazing. I was like, I'm not going to now let go and give up. So when the pandemic is resolved, because usually life at the end of the day does resolve itself, you know what I mean? At some point, you're going to be walking out of the pandemic. Is it really going to feel good to be 20 pounds overweight, to have, migraines, headaches, not feel like yourself, not look like yourself, and then you have to start over. For me, it's like, why do we give up when things get hard? Why do we give in, or, you know what I mean? Let go when things aren't perfect, or things aren't going our way, or things aren't exactly how we dreamed of them or thought of them. Life is hard. Life is complicated, and it's constantly changing. So the greatest flex you can have is being able to evolve and grow and be able to be happy no matter what. And I'm that proponent of stay looking and feeling your best, because you never know what's going to happen.
You never know. I love that. And you never know. And it does get harder when you get older, when it comes to certain things. And if you haven't created these habits for yourself in your 20s or 30s or 40s, it doesn't mean that you can't when you're in your 50s and over, but it makes it easier to continue with those habits of getting dressed every day. My mom used to say to me, Jody, why don't you put some lipstick on? It was like, because when I was a mom in my 30s, raising my kids, and my husband was working and all that, you're probably in the middle of it a little bit. And my mom would say to me, oh, so stereotypical. She'd say, Jody, maybe if you put some lipstick on, like such a 1950s housewife of saying that.
You're not dead. Put your lipstick on.
Right. That's what she was saying. And at first I gave her pushback, but there's a lot to say about that, because her attitude was, you never know who you're going to see, and you always want to feel your best.
I mean, I'm saying, if people like to say that they don't care, then are you going to a wedding in your pajamas? Like, are you going to your business like an interview for a job? Are you going on a date or a girls' night, the way with no makeup? Like, if you prepare for any of those things or want to look fabulous for any of those things, that means you care, right? It does make a difference on how you see yourself and how you feel and how you present yourself to everyone else. Because again, I think a lot of women, I always say, my famous line is, come down looking fabulous every day. You really want to scare your husband? You want to scare your kids? Come down looking fabulous. And they're going to be like, what that, like, your husband's going to be checking your phone. He's not going to know what to do. When you look like crap, no one looks at you. No one pays attention to you. Everyone takes advantage. No one gives a crap. but it's funny
It's
when you look good.
it's a mindset. And I want to go back to what we were talking about before we took the break, about money, making your own money, feeling good. You mentioned something about once you started talking about this openly, and that was about 2019, right?
Yep.
You started sharing your journey, and then probably started
2020.
blowing.
And then COVID is when it really kind of took off. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And were women, so you mentioned that one woman said, hey, listen, what are you doing in sequin pants? You know, you get the pushbacks and you're like, okay, well, you don't have to follow me, or you could actually listen to what I'm saying and not judge me so quickly.
Yep.
Let's talk about making the money. Why is that so important? You referenced your mom and how she didn't know where any of the money was. And then you wanted to make your own money. Why was that so important to you? And why should it be important to other women?
I genuinely, honestly believe money controls you. And I think whoever makes the most money controls the relationship, unfortunately. And I think that when, you marry somebody and they, I honestly think marriage is a Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi.
I
Imagine your
love
parents
that.
pull a carrot, they dangle, and you put your investment in, right? You have kids, you're like
Yes.
your investment, and then you're like, wait, where's the payback? Like
Wait,
I
what
want
am I getting? What am I
where's the
getting?
snow
It's a
bag?
scheme,
Where's the
right?
yeah? And you're like, everyone's like, what money? What do you mean? There's nothing there. And
Right.
I'm like, wait, what? So I honestly am like, I think there's this thing with money that we are constantly told like we're going to be taken care of, except no one tells you what strings are attached to that and what power you give away when someone takes care of you, whether it's your parents or whether it's your husband or
Yeah, I
whether
didn't
it's
know
your
it.
partner. Yeah, you don't realize that you lose your voice, you
True.
lose control, you do change your personality because you do have to give in at the end of the day. Like I'd watch my mom screaming and yelling, and then she'd have to give in eventually because what is she going to do? Walk away and not get the money? So she would have to give in. And then little by little, that strips away at your power. That puts away, that puts out your fire inside of
Yeah.
you. That sucks the oxygen out of you because at some point, it does not feel good to not have power and control. And for me, watching my mom, at the end of the day, my dad was very generous, but the fact that my mom was so unhappy and didn't feel like she didn't have the power to walk away. She did not have the power to like leave because again,
She
she
was
didn't want to
scared.
split the money. She was too scared about the money and she didn't want anybody else to have it. And it was like a whole thing. And I think for me, I realized, yeah, it doesn't feel good to ask permission. I feel like I'm a grown woman and I shouldn't have to ask permission.
Right.
And I think it changes the dynamic in the marriage when you're partners, when you both bring something to the table, when you have something else to talk about rather than just the kids. I think it just changes, again, it changes the dynamics of your relationship, of your marriage. And I personally think it gives you so much more power when you make your own money. And again, you can make those decisions for yourself. So for me, I wish somebody had told me, make money, make your own money. Like, I personally think it's one of the number one things women should know how to take care of themselves if need be.
Absolutely. It's the mistake that I made. I gave up my power. I stopped working. And then I was 42 and I'm like, okay,
Yep.
I've got my alimony payment for the next 15 years. It's time to figure shit out. So
Yep.
I had that safety net, but still, let me tell you something. It goes fast and it's scary when you're in your 40s and you've got to figure out who you're going to be. And that's when I just, that's when I
Absolutely.
started standing in my truth because I had my own money, and then I had the opportunity to make money. But it is a very powerless feeling of being at somebody else's mercy when you're not making your own money, and it really affects your self-esteem and self-confidence. And I think,
So, yes.
and then you project that out to the world. So, getting dressed.
Yep.
Did you start developing your own style? And that's one question because you
Okay.
have a fabulous style.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the brands and what you're doing with what you've created since you've gotten all this attention for being outspoken and getting dressed and so on. But before we do that, has there been anybody who has reached out to you and said, I can't do it, Caroline. I just can't do it?
We do every once in a while, people, it's more of, they're dealing with deaths. You know what I'm saying? Like they're, somebody's, a child that like, I can't imagine getting up again. I can't imagine getting dressed. I can't imagine, or
Yeah.
going through divorce, losing everything. And I do get DMs constantly just saying like, how do you do this? Like, how do you, and I always say, again, it's really starting small. It's not about overwhelming yourself because again, I think it's just too easy, especially when we're in a vulnerable state of mind, to give up. And I think to want somebody else to solve it or to put a band-aid on it and not really deal, not really have to do the work. And I do believe that the greatest development, the greatest growth does come in the work. I know for me, going from not making any money to now being the sole provider for the family, there is a sense of, confidence. There is a sense of power that you feel when, you can take care of yourself rather than depending on someone to take care of themselves. And I always tell women, like, you can start, we're in an incredible time where we have social media. You can start anything online, anything that you love to do, start teaching it, start giving advice, start giving tips, or start doing for your friends, whatever it is possible. Like to be 47 and be able to completely start over and then actually take care of their family just goes to show you anything is possible. And I think we do not give enough credit to moms. Like my husband and I said, like as soon as we expand, like we want to hire moms. They're the smartest, most capable multitaskers there are. And I can't even tell you, almost all women that I know in their 50s think that there's nothing for them, that there's nothing left for them. They're like, oh, we don't understand technology. We don't understand. I'm like, well, start understanding, start reading, start looking up, start Googling, start figuring it out. Like you are smart and you are capable. You just raised an incredible family.
Right.
You've supported your husband. You're taking care of your parents and you're telling me you're not capable enough to figure something out online.
You can figure it out. You can figure it out. So tell me how you went from your message, encouraging women to get dressed, get up, get moving, to now making money. Tell us about your line, what you're doing.
So really it all really began with, I was like, just like all of you, just like, okay, what could I do? And mine just started really just getting out there. I started playing tennis again. I started working out again. So I really just started doing my happy tools I just started to feel good again. Like I started to look good and feel good. Do you know what I mean?
And those people were attracted, what you put out comes back to you. Right.
It does. And I think it also puts you in a good headspace. Like you're more available, you're more open to opportunity and to change when you're feeling good and when you're feeling confident. So I really started with me feeling good about myself, like having energy again, fitting into some cute clothes again, or just feeling put together, feeling ready. Like where if somebody did offer something, I was ready. So it was kind of just started there. And then I really just started to, take a photo because everyone would ask me what I'm wearing. A lot of my friends would just ask, I've always been into fashion, always loved it. Jewelry, fashion, handbags, like, because I really should have worked for Vogue or I should have been
I saw that you worked for Prada. I used to be a buyer. So my background before fitness.
I wish I should have done all of that. Like I love all of that. So fashion has always been, a filter for me. It's always like my armor. Everyone calls me, my makeup, my jewelry, my clothes. It's like my armor. I put it on, makes me feel ready for the day. And I just love it. And for me, fashion is always just a great way of, just expressing yourself. It does change how you feel. It changes your mood. I find it so powerful. And, it's right at your fingertips and it doesn't take a lot. I think we've made it seem like the impossible is the only way to look fabulous. And it's not true. I am like head to toe Amazon and look fabulous. So I think
she looks fabulous.
I mean, thank you. But it's like normalizing looking good and normalizing wearing just the white tee and jeans and just feeling fabulous. And I think it's just, again, just starting small, starting with things you already love. If you're somebody who loves jewelry, bring those hoops back out. If you're somebody who loves to get dressed, like start putting cute little outfits together, it's like never about me. It's like, what makes you feel good? What makes you look in the mirror and think, oh yeah, okay,
oh, yeah.
Hello. You know what I'm talking about? Like
well, I used to tell my clients, I want you to look at yourself before you get in the shower and say, I would do me.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yes. Like you should be like, damn girl, let's go. And you should be ready to bump into your ex-boyfriend at the grocery store. Like for me, I am ready no matter what to see anyone, bump into anyone, ready for any opportunity. I'm ready to have a good time and a good day every day. So it's really just about that. It's like starting small and simple, but just start with something that makes you feel good. And I'm telling you, once you start to feel good, it does change your perspective and it does change what you're willing to try and do. I know you.
And So do you have your own line of clothing? Have you created your own line of clothing?
Oh, sorry. So okay, so what we're working on right now. So it went from like doing that one photo in the picture and just tagging brands, right? And just kind of
And
like
like you're saying, you're wearing a lot of Amazon things. So this is
I'm wearing
very
tons
affordable, right?
tagging Amazon, tagging everything I'm wearing.
Mhm.
And little by little, it just started to grow. You know, a couple of brands started to notice, or, you know, they started to send stuff. And, you know, you started getting some, you know,
Yes.
gifts and things like that. And then from there, COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it kind of put a kibosh on everything, and everything was like at a standstill. And that's like when everything happened with my parents. I was feeling so overwhelmed, and I don't know what made me start talking in the morning. I just was like up at 6 a.m. I was having like insomnia, and I just started talking about my life. I don't know what made me be like, you know what? I'm just going to say it all. I'm going to do, you know, like, you can't judge me if I already said it. Like, I'm just going to put it all out there and see if anyone else is feeling this way. And little by little, that's what took off. And so when that growth started happening with the coffee talks, you know, Katie Couric did an article, and then Maria Shriver did an
Saw
article.
that. Yeah, just recently the Maria Shriver article came out in July. That was fabulous. I read it. So if you go to
So little by
Caroline's page, but we'll give you all that information before we leave.
But it's just like what you said. So little by little, it was just people taking notice. And then it was kind of like, okay, then the bigger brands, then making the bigger deals, then getting a management team. Then, you know, we've signed, we're having a book coming out. We're hopefully having a podcast coming soon. And we, you know, hopefully having an unscripted show, talk show. So you know, it went from that one photo in the mirror to signing some big deals that we're very excited about. So I know it's possible. It is possible for anyone. It's just about starting.
Right. Because ready is a lie. And we are never completely ready, but you just have to start somewhere. And it starts with everything they said: get dressed, get moving, get going. It's not always easy, but if we stick to it and we're consistent, then we can continue to do it. So I know people must ask you all the time about your necklaces. I know I'm curious about them. You have a lot on. I love the
Yes,
way
I
they
do.
look. And you're a tiny person. What are you, 5'4"? I saw
Yeah,
one,
you're right.
yeah, you're 5'3"?
Yeah,
Okay. People think I'm 5'8". I'm 5 feet.
you are. Oh, you're tiny. I know people think I'm 5'9", and
Right.
it's me in person, and they're like, "Wait a sec!" Like I'm like at their hip.
Right. And so you carry, and just speaking about fashion, you carry these things well. So you do not have to be a tall woman. You don't have to be a certain size or a certain age. And as you talk to women who are menopausal, postmenopausal, we're middle aged, and you want them to try something new, I'm sure you get a lot of messages about, whoa, I just bought all these necklaces, and you gave me the confidence to try something like that. But the necklaces, I know, get a lot of chit chat
Yeah, a lot of
on your,
attention.
yes. So what are you wearing?
So I do. So I'm Mrs. T. So I'm Mr. T's wife.
You are, that's
Yeah,
right.
and I've always loved it. For me, truthfully, the jewelry, I know, you know, we joke that it's my armor. It is something for me that I watched my mom saving everything for a special occasion her whole life. And now she sits in a room and wishes she could have worn it all. She is like now nowhere to wear it. And I literally said, I'm not going down like that. I was like, I'm not going to waste, you know, like my mom, her sacrifice for my opportunities, you know, will not go wasted. So I realized she sacrificed it all so I could have the opportunities I have. She didn't get to wear all this shit, but I'm going to wear it. So I was kind of like, you know what? I'm going to take it all out. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to enjoy it. I mix my metals. I mix real with fun. I have Amazon jewels with all my real jewels. I've designed some of them. Some are collaborations. So I've been doing collaborations with some jewelry designers. We did a handbag. We're doing some merch. I'm coming out with a necklace. So we're having some fun, a lot of fun stuff coming
Oh,
up.
exciting.
But really, I just wear what I love. I mix it all. I just have fun with it. And for me, it's just another way to express myself. And I just love it. It's like, to me, I'm like, I'm not hurting anybody. It's just
No,
fun. I love it.
it's
And I'm not going to wear it to the grave. So I'm going to enjoy it.
right. And I know you wear a lot of Jennifer Fisher just to like, right?
Yeah.
Is it Jennifer
Jennifer
Fisher?
Fisher. I did the collaboration with Forever Fine Jewelries, the lightning bolts.
Mhm.
I have my own pieces coming out. I wear Erin Basha. I wear Shiley Rose. I wear Milestones by Ashley or the rings.
I
I
see
like
that.
to mix all women owned, almost all women owned.
I absolutely love that. And I think your sense of style can work for anyone. And I think one of the things that you talk about so often is like, this is your style. This
Yes.
doesn't have to be anybody, it doesn't have to be
You don't have to wear it all. You don't
somebody
have
else's style, but this is what works for you. And that's the empowering thing about your message to women is this is what makes me feel good. This is what I've done to get myself out of a rut. But you
Yes.
don't have to do everything that I'm doing, but this is what worked for me. I can help you. You can do half of what I do, but just
Yeah.
do it consistently, because we don't want you to feel that 50 is the end of your time
Oh
to
my God,
live.
it's like you're just getting started.
You're just getting started.
How good you can feel, how strong you can feel, how smart you can feel, and capable. Like I feel so much more capable now than I ever did in my 20s and 30s. Like when I just gotten out of college, when I, did all that. It's funny. Now is when I feel the most capable because I've navigated so many different hardships or different situations that I've gotten through or learned or figured out that's what makes the confidence. Somebody else giving you the answer or somebody else handing it to you does not make you feel capable and smart. It's you figuring it out, you doing the work, and you making that, you know what I mean? That is what makes you feel confident and smart. So again, every day, just making that little bit of effort for yourself, you will never regret it. You'll never regret looking fabulous. You'll never regret feeling fabulous. Or like you said, working out. I've never regretted a workout, never regretted a healthy meal, never regretted looking fabulous and doing my makeup. That's the truth. So it's that simple to me.
These are all wonderful gems that you are throwing out to all of us, and I really appreciate it. So I have one last question for you. What does it mean for you to be fearlessly authentic?
For me, it's actually waking up every day feeling good in my own skin. I think feeling authentic is, not having to live up to anybody else's expectations, but actually understanding what makes me feel good and what works for me and my family. We're not doing it like everybody else. My husband's at home, he works for me, but you know what? It works for us. Like, I'm not embarrassed, I'm not ashamed. Like, it's about figuring out who you really are and what makes you really actually feel good and living that, not trying to live up to the Joneses. Not like I'm all about bringing back normal and happy. I think, we have forgotten what that means. And for me, living authentically is not having to have or do what everybody else is doing. It's doing what actually makes me happy and feel good.
That's beautiful. I wish we can stay on for another hour. This was pure joy to have you on the show. Where can our listeners find you, Caroline?
So I would love you guys. Shop.with.caroline is Instagram, and then Being Caroline is TikTok, YouTube, and I have a blog, and a lot of stuff is coming soon. So I would love for you guys to stay tuned.
Congratulations on all your success and for stepping into your truth and sharing everything that you're learning with all of us. I really appreciate it.
I love you. Thank you.
I love you too.
Love you.
And for everybody who's listening, thank you so much for listening to Fearlessly Authentic once again. And until next week, go live your most fearlessly authentic life. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.